Hello and assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Growth Mindset. This is a podcast that's made by and for you to help them develop a mindset focused on constant development and improvement. This podcast is a project that's brought to you by the Islamic Society of Markham. I'm your host, Sadia Islam, and I'm the coordinator for Young Muslim Leadership Program. Today, we're going to be talking about choosing the right career path, a topic that I'm sure is on many students' minds as they start applying for colleges and universities this fall. So I'm really excited to welcome our guest today, Sadia Anjum. She has over 8 years of experience in the career education space, and she's worked as a career advisor at several universities and colleges, including McMaster, Waterloo, and Humber College. And she now does equity development and inclusion work and anti-racism work, and aims to provide advising services to students that are culturally responsive and trauma-informed. Welcome, Sadia. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. I'm doing well. And thank you for having me here today.
Thank you. We're really excited to have you here because not only do you have years of experience in guiding students on how to choose the right career path, but you have experience doing it from a culturally responsive lens, which I think is very important for our audience because we know that a lot of Muslim and racialized youth face unique challenges in the job market. And I'd love for you to begin by sharing a little bit about your background and how and why you decided to become a career advisor.
So it's been quite an interesting journey. I was looking to get into becoming an HR professional while I was a student myself at Centennial College. And then I started working on campus at career and centers and co-op offices as a resume advisor, cover letter advisor. And it was something that I really enjoyed, both at Centennial and Ryerson, which is now TMU. And that led me into pursuing a Master of Education degree, which was sort of geared towards career development and basically work in career and workplace learning and social change. Fast forward, I worked in the community as an employment advisor for close to 10 years. Actually, no, 5 years, 5 to 10. I forget how much it was. And then I moved back into the career education space at Humber College, where I worked as a career and student success advisor. So it was a very good role in the sense that not only was I supporting students with their career journey, but also looking at it from a holistic lens, which was student success and academic success as well. And moved on over to McMaster then as a co-op educator or career educator for the engineering co-op and career services. It was a very good and unique experience in the sense that not only was I supporting students through their co-op journey, but I got to work with employers very closely as well. So I saw a lot of issues that were coming up, especially for the racialized communities and other equity deserving groups, also known as EDGs. And I eventually transitioned into an EDI role, but I still work as a career advisor part-time at Waterloo, where I see students as well as graduates and alumni.
MashaAllah, it's an impressive history. Thank you so much. And so, a lot of people talk about how you choose or what is the right career path for you. And I was curious to know what makes something right. How does someone know that something is right for them? What are the factors that they should be considering?
I think first thing you need to do is you need to put in a lot of research and take the time to decide what is good for you. And a simple way of looking at it is when I work with students or alumni for that matter is what courses have you enjoyed? What did you like about those courses? What did you basically hated about those courses? What activities and hobbies do you have, right? So activities and hobbies aren't always the answer, but it gives you an insight into what it is that you enjoy doing outside in your free time as well. So that's a good place to start. Importantly, I would say one of the struggles that I notice when students are sort of deciding on a career journey, a career path, or a program for that matter, is that they follow what their friends are saying or getting into as well as their families, which is good. But I think we need to be a bit more cautious and also look at our values, right? So what's the intrinsic and extrinsic values? What may be valuable and important to one person may not be, as important to another individuals. For example, some individuals are extroverted and they may pick, programs and occupations that fit that kind of, work outcomes or career outcomes, whereas for others, it might be more, independent work or a combination of that work.
And so you're saying interests and passions is a good place to start, but you should also be thinking about your values. And do you think people should also be considering when they're choosing career path things like financial security, work-life balance, mental health, well-being, and also their skill set?
Yeah, so definitely skill set. And I think that's where when you're looking at what courses you've done well or programs, basically courses you've enjoyed is a good place.
Mhm.
In terms of financial ability, definitely, right? So if you are looking to get into a program that is very expensive or the tuition is very expensive, it is a consideration. I would say don't sort of shy away from it. Look into, and that's where applying to different institutions is helpful to see who is offering the most amount of entrance awards or scholarships and what other
Mhm.
bursaries and options are available so that you are not sort of left behind. One thing I've noticed is a lot of the equity deserving individuals from equity deserving groups, they are sort of streamed out because of how high the tuition may be for certain programs. So reach out and then see what's a good fit. People who may have had IEP, which is Independent Education Plan, make sure that's a consideration that you're taking on to your institution, be it a college or university.
All right, thank you so much. Is there anything during when you were trying to choose your career path, were there any challenges that you faced and lessons that you learned that you think would be valuable to share?
Yeah, so I would say that when back in the days when I went to a career counselor at the respective high school, I don't think I got a lot of support and help. So I was sort of on my own, picked a program. I don't know how to navigate the system, right? So
Mhm.
that's one advice I would have that, make sure you are tapping on as many doors and shoulders as possible to find a program that's a good fit. And I think one of the things that we've chatted in the past as well, is that, people tend to change their programs and that's perfectly fine as well.
So it sounds like in terms of strategies of when you're trying to choose your career path, you should be not only looking at what you're interested in, what courses you enjoyed, your own personal hobbies, but you should be reaching out to people, networking, and really looking for mentors that can help you. And there's mentors like you now in this space that are racialized, that are Muslim, that you can also that you can identify with. And so I think it sounds like reaching out to mentors like that is very important. And taking advantage of all the resources that are available when you go into university or even in high school is so crucial.
For sure, for sure. So
Mhm.
the other thing I'm going to say in terms of strategies is to reach out to people who are working in that field right now, right? So for example, LinkedIn is a good space to go. If you decide to go with, let's say, University of Toronto, go on their page on LinkedIn, look on their alumni section and look at people who have graduated from similar programs or in that program to learn what their journey has been like. Another key component would be to see what are the labor market, trajectories and prospects like for the program that you're looking to get into in the future, because that would give you an idea of what to expect. That's a good, that's something valuable to keep in mind as well.
Mhm. And you touched a little bit about on some of the challenges or unique challenges that Muslims might face specifically because you provide, culturally responsive services. In your time with providing those kind of services, what have you seen some of the unique challenges that they face, and do you have any advice on how to overcome them?
Muslims definitely face a lot of racism and Islamophobia. And there's a lot of other negative, preconceived notions that people hold about them, unfortunately, that, has an impact on their academic journey and respectively their career journey. I would say if something doesn't feel right to you, if you are sort of, questioning, make sure you don't sort of sweep it under the rug, but reach out for help, right? So it could be folks like myself at their respective EDI offices, could be through MSA, could be through other means. Um, yeah, I think that that would be the right way to go. So don't sort of, take that without getting help and support.
You also talked about some of the myths that a lot of people hold about choosing the right career path. Can you talk about some of the ones that you've heard about?
I think one of the biggest myths in the Muslim community, by and large, not, if I were to generalize, is that you have to get into a STEM program and that's the only way to succeed, which is not accurate because there's a lot of success that could be had outside of STEM programs as well. You have to find a good fit. The other one is you have to go to a certain university, and if you don't go there, then you're sort of doomed. Is not accurate either. Any and all universities across Ontario and in Canada are quite good. So do your research, do your due diligence. I would say public institutions are good. Similarly with community colleges, people tend to put them down. They are an excellent place to, get education and get good jobs out of there. There are also degree programs offered at community colleges as well that might be, also worth looking into as well.
Mhm. I've
I think,
often seen, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I've often seen, myself after entering the workforce, I noticed that experience was often more highly valued than your education. Even though not to say education is not important, it's extremely important, but it's not the end of the world if you didn't go to the best university, the best college, or whatever. It's about how you apply your skills and how much experience you have, whether volunteer or work experience in your field, if you want to move ahead.
Definitely, that plays a significant role. And then the other thing is, let's say even if you're starting off, you may be competing against graduates from other universities. But even I would say in about 2 years' time, 3 years' time, everyone sort of catches up.
Yeah, exactly. And that's wonderful. And then I remember when I was in university or in high school, even and thinking about choosing universities, there is a lot of fear about choosing the perfect career path. And you do all of these tests, and then I got to university and I changed my major like 2, 3 times. And I think a lot of people, face that same issue where like I have a lot of interest, and you also change your mind. You try something out and you're like, actually, this is not for me. And some people change their mind even later on when they've started their careers and they've become developed and they're like, actually, I want to change my career. So what would you say to those people? Is that something that is seen as bad for your career path? How would you respond to that?
No, I think that's very that's quite prevalent. It's more prevalent than people assume it is. I think statistics show that on average, university students or higher ed students change their programs up to 3 to 5 times during
Wow.
the duration that they're at a higher ed. And then the way I look at it is, how else would you know if it's a good fit unless you actually try it out and give it a shot, right? And there are always transferable skills, credits rather, that you could transfer over, and you're better off sort of changing gears and majors while you're at higher ed than to complete a program that you absolutely dislike and then having to start all over again.
Exactly. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm trying to consider like what are some other myths that people are thinking about.
The
Uh,
other one that I could tell you is, sorry, one of them is there's a lot of stigma around getting accessibility supports and learning support.
mhm.
So I think people, one, don't feel comfortable, and rightfully so. They might think that it's gonna make them look bad. The instructors or professors might look at them differently. Even employers, co-op employers for that matter, right? So I'd say don't go through that when there are so much resources and supports available. Make sure that you take your IEP from high school and you have it transferred over to your respective university or college that you're looking to pursue.
Right. Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of youth in this time are obviously facing a lot of pressure. It's not there's internal pressure, there's societal pressure, and then pressure like peer pressure, parental pressure. How should they navigate that in order to make sure that they're doing what's best for them?
Obviously, I'm going to say, do your salah, do your istikhara, do your
Mhm.
istishara. Don't sort of discount that. And I'm sure everyone's doing it. Make dua, lots of dua. I think it's very important for Muslim youth and Muslim community in general as well to, take advantage of the supports that are offered. So there are a lot of mental health supports that are offered on campus. Make sure that you're utilizing those. There is a lot of culturally and religiously responsive counseling support available at campuses as well. So make sure you're tapping into that as well. So don't feel that, if I'm speaking to somebody who may not be of my faith, one, that they won't be able to understand. One, they're really well trained, and you probably will find somebody who's Muslim who could help you navigate some of those challenges. And there's just so much support that's offered. The other thing I would say that is helpful, which I think traditionally some cultures don't look into, is being a part of the campus community. So if you're taking part in different clubs and events and activities, that's going to help you with your motivation, your morale, and then just having that sense of belongingness, which helps with overall success academically as well.
That's amazing. And have you seen any emerging trends or changes in the job market that you think young professionals should be aware of?
Um, there's tons and tons of trends. I think there is some fear around artificial intelligence taking over a lot of the jobs. I think we're
Mhm.
still far from it. So I think do your research. Every career, career path is different. It would be best to connect with your respective, career advisor at your institution and then take it from there.
Okay, that makes sense. And I think a lot of people are worried about balancing the need for a career that's financially viable and a career that they have interest in, and that is a need, like that there are a lot of jobs open for in this job market. um do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that's a very important question. And I would say, again, sitting down and speaking with somebody is always helpful. Look into minors and majors, right? So if you are pursuing a major, you can potentially look into double major if possible, or a minor, so that you could, do a major in a program that is financially, would be able to help you stay afloat financially. But at the same time, there is a minor that you're doing that might be of interest, right? So for instance, it could be that someone's really into writing and history and whatnot. That could be a minor that they pursue while they might be,
Mhm.
doing business as a major. So there's a lot of avenues and paths and options available. The other thing we do is, excuse me, suggest is that, for example, if someone wants to graduate and become, an accountant, right? So that may not have been your first preference and whatnot, but you can work in certain industries and organizations that are a good fit. So it could be becoming an accountant or working as an accountant, in an organization that may be focusing on sports and, entertainment, for instance, and not like bad entertainment, but like, for example, there's a whole bunch of different types of sports and then entertainments that are halal and permissible and whatnot, right? So
Mhm, mhm.
being mindful of that. So there's a lot of options that could be explored. And usually when individuals sit down for career advising, we usually tell them it's not a one and done kind of session. It takes a few sessions to see what's a good fit, as well as where can it take you, so you have that happy medium that you could pursue. So going back to your question about, so was it picking a program?
Sort of, I was thinking about how to like for folks who
Oh,
have
finance. Yeah.
an interest, yeah, who
Yeah.
have an interest in a career path that may not seem financially viable, but that's where their passion lies. And I think you're right, because you were talking about that there's so many options available, and I found that when you're kind of going through the list of career paths, and there's so many that you've never even heard of, that you never even knew was a job that existed.
Yeah.
When you're in high school, but even once I got into university, you just keep looking around and you never know what may surprise you. Because I found a major that didn't even exist a couple years before, and that I didn't even know that people, worked in and had jobs and they had for a long time. And it was something unique, so you never know what you might find that's unique, that might combine your interests with something that is financially viable and is needed, and that people are looking for in the job market.
I completely agree. I think the other place to look into again is to connect with your career advisor or the career services office,
Mhm.
because a lot of us do a lot of different assessments. So career cruising is a very good assessment. I know people have done it in high school and did not like it, and for rightful reasons, but we sort of make it in a developmental and holistic way. So there's challenge cards, there's career cruising. We do get a lot of reports as well, labor market information reports that we could help you out with. There might be emerging trends in careers in respective areas, like you're saying, that may not have, been well known in the past. So
Mhm.
connect with us and sort of stay in touch with us so that we could provide you with that ongoing support that's needed.
Exactly. I think that's so important. And I know people may be hesitant to reach out to the career counselors, whether it's because, or to the nurse in general, whether it's because they feel like, oh, it won't really help me. I can just figure it out myself. Or do you find like that when people are hesitant to reach out to career counselors, what are the reasons or fears that they have?
I think people think so. I think high school experience matters a lot. And generally speaking, by and large, high school career counselors may not have been as, um, I mean, they have a huge workload, right? A lot of students. So
Mhm.
that makes a difference. Common issues that I've come across is lack of time. They think it's not going to help out. But I would say majority of the students and alumni that I've connected with, they've walked away with something meaningful and tangible. And oftentimes we sort of nudge the individuals to go look into networking, and we show them how to network. And then that's where most or a wealth of the information comes for the individuals that are coming in.
Okay, that's really good to hear. And I think from my experience talking to anyone who has some sort of experience or professional background knowledge, you always come out with something, learning something new, or even having something to think about that you can then pursue afterwards. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's very important for people to pursue that. And you touched upon something in one of the previous questions about like the importance of values. And then you were like, what's a halal career? What's not a halal career? Then you, not to get into that debate, but I think as Muslims, that's a unique thing that we face. I mean, everyone, when they're choosing career, are thinking about the values that they have and they want to match it. But
Yeah.
as Muslims, I think there's an added aspect there. And so do you find that that has often made choosing career paths difficult, or how has that impacted the decision making?
Obviously, there are career paths that we generally don't take up as Muslims, right?
Mhm.
it certainly plays a role and a factor. I think when speaking of values, what matters is the intrinsic and extrinsic values, right? So for some people, it might be that they're go-getters, they're high achievers, and they need to get into roles and fields that sort of, fulfill that need or value for them. For others, the value might be that, it's recognition. So I don't have my list open right now. So there's a whole bunch of them, right? So recognition, some people just want quiet work. Some people want autonomy. Some people want more hands-on support, right? So those are some key values that people are looking to get out. Others might be looking for work-life balance, which could look really different for different people. So it's always a good conversation to have to know what your values are. And of course, Islamic values are extremely important as well, right? So the environment that you're going in. I think when Muslims go into diverse workspaces, that always works out well. Whereas if we go into workspaces which may not be as diverse or as racialized, you will find some, it will take you some time to sort of get settled in. So that's not to say don't look into it, but see, could you find other respective companies where there's a bit more diversity and racial and religious inclusion?
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear more about those intrinsic and intrinsic values, and I think sometimes you may even find yourself realizing what those values are after you started the workplace. I've noticed a lot of young people when they're starting out, their values are work as hard as I can, go getter, like do everything, work late into the night, and then after 2-3 years you get burnout. You're like, actually, my value is work-life balance, and I want to, so your values change.
For sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
They change a lot. And I think a lot of the deeper conversations that I get into are usually with alumni who've worked for at least 2 to 5 years or 3 to 5 years. That's when you get to see that, they have sort of pinpointed what values are important to them, or, we can narrow down the values that are important to them because you've been there, done that kind of thing.
Exactly. So we've talked about a lot of things, and I think there's many different things about you to be thinking about when they're choosing their career path. I was wondering if there was one piece of advice that if you could leave young Muslims with today, those who are trying to choose a career path, what would you tell them? What's one thing that you really want them to remember during this really pivotal and chaotic time?
I think mentorship is extremely important. And that's one piece of advice I'd like to leave everybody with. Um, I don't think there is as much of a focus or emphasis on it, but if you can find yourself a good mentor to sort of help you through some of your formative years while going through higher ed, as well as in your first few years in working as a professional, that would be really helpful. And I find that having Muslim mentors is good, having racialized mentors is really good, or individuals from other equity deserving groups, because a lot of us have had that lived experience and some of the challenges that people may not know that they're walking into, or be able to support them while they navigate those challenges.
And people are a big part of choosing your career path. And I think it's amazing that you say that, because our first episode was about mentorship and the importance of mentorship in our community. So full circle. I think that's amazing. Thank you so much, Sadia, for sharing your time, your expertise, and all your advice with us. I think a lot of young folks will benefit from hearing from your wisdom, myself included. I have as well. So I just want to let everyone know that you can follow us on Instagram, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find us at Islamic Society of Markham. We stream every other Saturday, and you can find all of our recorded episodes from previous streams on the YouTube channel. And so we hope to see everyone in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much again, Sadia, and assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for having me. Walaikum assalam.